Papers. Right now, immigration check.
I'm a police lieutenant from Phoenix PD. My badge is in my truck.
Sure you are. Everyone's got a story. Show documentation proving citizenship.
Lieutenant Marcus Hayes, badge 2847. Call my precinct.
You don't
They'll
get to make
confirm.
demands. We'll verify that downtown.
You're making a mistake.
Turn around, hands where I can see him.
October 26th, 2023. A decorated police sergeant stops for gas after his workout. He leaves in handcuffs. 4 hours later, he's released without charges. 2 years later, a jury makes the federal government pay $8.7 million. This is the body camera footage they tried to suppress. Before we go further, ask yourself, if this can happen to a police sergeant with 18 years of service, what happens to people without badges, without legal knowledge, without witnesses? In Phoenix, where Mitchell has served for nearly 2 decades, 34% of the population is Latino. ICE calls this a target-rich environment. But when enforcement is based on appearance rather than evidence, everyone who looks a certain way becomes a suspect, including cops. Agent Dylan Hartley exits the Tahoe, flanked by 2 agents, Rodriguez and Chen. They form a tactical triangle around Mitchell, cutting off angles of exit. Mitchell immediately recognizes the formation. He's used it himself hundreds of times during gang sweeps. Hartley's hand rests on his duty belt near his sidearm. His body language is pure law enforcement. Squared shoulders, direct eye contact, no smile, no greeting. Afternoon, ICE. Need to see your identification and proof of citizenship, please. Afternoon, officers. I'm Sergeant Darius Mitchell, Phoenix Police Department, Gang Unit. My badge and credentials are in my vehicle right there. I can retrieve them for you if you'd like. Hartley's counter. Why don't you have ID on you? I just came from the gym. My wallet and badge are in my vehicle for security purposes. Would you like me to get them? Hartley. I need to see proof of citizenship, now. His is when Mitchell realizes something is wrong. Hartley isn't extending professional courtesy. He's not asking if Mitchell is on a call, if he needs backup, if there's an operation in the area. He's treating Mitchell like a target. The tone, the body language, the refusal to accept an explanation. Mitchell has seen this dynamic 1,000 times. He's just never been on the receiving end. Here's what's not being said. Agent Hartley knows Mitchell is American. He can hear it in his accent, his diction, his cadence. But the performance isn't about verification. It's about power. It's about who gets to demand and who has to comply. Hartley calls for backup on his radio. Dispatch, this is Hartley. Quick trip on 32nd and Thomas. Got a possible undocumented individual refusing to provide identification. Requesting additional units. Mitchell's jaw tightens. Possible undocumented? I just told you I'm Phoenix PD. I offered to show you my credentials. Hartley. And I told you I need to see proof now. You're being evasive. Mitchell. I'm being evasive? I'm standing here answering your questions. I've identified myself. I've offered verification. What specific articulable facts do you have that give you reasonable suspicion to detain me? Hartley. Don't start that constitutional law stuff with me. You trying to sound smart? Mitchell. I'm invoking my Fourth Amendment rights. You need reasonable suspicion to detain me. You need probable cause to arrest me. What do you have? Hartley. To backup agents. See, uncooperative, knows the language. Probably been through this before. A woman at the next pump over pulls out her phone. I'm recording this. You're harassing him. Hartley. Ma'am, step back or you'll be detained for obstruction. The woman doesn't step back. She keeps recording. Across the parking lot, Mitchell sees his daughters pull up in their mother's Honda CR-V. They're early. They're supposed to be meeting him to carpool to the volleyball game. Now they're watching this. His oldest daughter, Amara, 17, gets out with her phone already up, recording. His youngest, Nyla, 14, stays in the car, but Mitchell can see her face through the windshield. Confusion, then fear, then anger. Mitchell makes eye contact with Amara and shakes his head slightly. Don't interfere. Record everything. This is what your children learn when they watch you get detained for buying Gatorade. But they learn that compliance doesn't equal safety, that credentials don't equal respect, that being the good guy doesn't matter when someone decides you look like the bad guy. 2 more ICE vehicles pull into the lot. 4 additional agents. Now Mitchell is surrounded by 7 federal agents, all armed, all focused on him like he's a fugitive. Agent Rodriguez approaches Mitchell's Charger and starts looking through the windows. Mitchell, that's my vehicle. You don't have permission to search it. Hartley, we're not searching. We're observing in plain view. Mitchell, there's nothing in plain view that justifies this stop. Rodriguez calls out, vehicles registered to a Darius L. Mitchell, Phoenix address. Hartley ignores this. Mitchell, you just verified my identity. My vehicle registration matches the name I gave you. No, this stop is over. Hartley, turn around and put your hands behind your back. Mitchell, on what charge? Hartley, you're being detained for verification of immigration status. Mitchell, I've told you I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm a police officer. I've offered proof. You've verified my vehicle registration. You have no legal basis to detain me. Hartley, you can explain that at the field office. Turn around. Mitchell has a choice. He can resist, not physically but verbally. He can demand a supervisor. He can call his own department. He can refuse to comply until they articulate a crime. But he's also a black man surrounded by 7 armed agents who have already decided he's guilty of something. He thinks about Amara and Nyla watching. He thinks about the other witnesses recording. And he thinks about how many times he's seen these situations end in violence. So he does what he's trained civilians to do when they're in danger. He complies. Mitchell turns around, puts his hands behind his back, and says clearly for the body cameras, I am Sergeant Darius Mitchell, Phoenix Police Department, employee number 58412. I am a U.S. citizen. I have offered to provide credentials. I am complying under protest. This detention is unlawful. Hartley cuffs him. The metal bites into Mitchell's wrists. Tight, tighter than necessary. Mitchell is doing everything right. Perfect compliance. Perfect articulation of his rights. Perfect documentation for later legal action. And he's still in handcuffs. Because the rules aren't designed to protect you when someone has already decided you're guilty. But Mitchell is placed in the back of Hartley's Tahoe. No seatbelt. The metal cage separating the front from the back. The smell of industrial cleaner and fear. As they pull out of the gas station, Mitchell watches Amara through the window. She's still recording, her phone steady, her face a mask of controlled rage. Nyla is crying. Mitchell turns his face toward the body camera mounted on the dashboard. He speaks slowly, clearly. My name is Sergeant Darius Mitchell, Phoenix Police Department, badge number 58412. I am a U.S. citizen, born in Phoenix, Arizona, on March 14, 1982. I have committed no crime. I have violated no law. This is an unlawful detention. Hartley driving. Save it for processing. The ICE field office on Central Avenue. Mitchell has been here before, coordinating operations, sharing intelligence. Now he's being walked in through the detainee entrance, hands cuffed behind his back. Processing. Name, height, weight, identifying marks. They inventory his personal effects, his Apple Watch, his wedding ring, $47 in cash, his gym membership card. Mitchell asks repeatedly, have you called Phoenix PD? Have you verified my employment? The processing officer, a woman in her 50s who looks like she's done this 10,000 times, says, we'll get to it. They don't get to it. 10 by 10 feet, concrete bench, metal toilet, fluorescent light that hums with a frequency that burrows into your skull. Mitchell sits down and checks the time on the wall clock. 3:17 p.m. He was supposed to be at his daughter's game by 5 p.m. He was supposed to be home, showered, changed, sitting in the stands with his wife, cheering for Amara's serves and Nyla's blocks. Now instead, he's in a cage. 4 hours. That's how long they keep him. Ask yourself, how long is 4 hours when you don't know if you're ever getting out? When no one tells you anything? When you've done nothing wrong but can't prove your innocence because they won't let you? Mitchell has arrested hundreds of people. He knows how this works, and that makes it worse. Mitchell sits on the concrete bench and runs through everything he knows about unlawful detention law. He's testified as an expert witness on Fourth Amendment issues. He's written use of force reports that were used in officer training. He knows the law. And he knows this is illegal. But knowing doesn't help when you're in a cage. Mitchell's phone buzzes in the property room. It's his wife calling, then Amara, then his captain, then his wife again. No one answers it. 5:17 p.m. The volleyball game starts. Mitchell puts his head in his hands. An agent Mitchell doesn't recognize walks past the cell, glances in, keeps walking. Mitchell stands up. "Excuse me, I need to speak to a supervisor." The agent doesn't respond. Mitchell raises his voice. "I am a Phoenix police sergeant being held without cause. I am entitled to a phone call. I am entitled to speak to a supervisor. This is an unlawful detention." The agent disappears around a corner. The door to the holding area opens. A woman in a suit, Supervisory Agent Maria Santos, approaches the cell with a file folder and an expression Mitchell recognizes immediately. Controlled panic. She unlocks the cell. Santos. "Sergeant Mitchell, I apologize for the delay. We've verified your identity and employment. You're free to go." Mitchell stands slowly, yet his wrists still ache from the cuffs. His throat is dry. His head is pounding. "Mitchell. Verified my identity? I told Agent Hartley my identity 4 hours ago. I offered proof 4 hours ago. What took you 4 hours to make a phone call?" Santos. "There was a miscommunication in the processing queue." Mitchell. "A miscommunication. I've been illegally detained for 4 hours because of a miscommunication." Santos. "We're releasing you now. Your property is at the front desk." Mitchell. "I want the names and badge numbers of every agent involved. I want a copy of the body camera footage. I want a written report of the basis for my detention." Santos hands him a business card. "You can submit a formal request through our—" Mitchell. "I know the process. I've been doing this job for 18 years. Now I get to see what it's like when the system is used against me." 4 hours. Not 4 days, not 4 months, just 4 hours. But in those 4 hours, Mitchell loses something he'll never get back. The belief that his badge makes him different. The belief that the system protects its own. The belief that compliance equals safety. Mitchell retrieves his property, signs the release form, and walks out of the IC field office at 7:11 p.m. His charger is still at the Quick Trip, keys still in his pocket. They never inventoried them. He takes a lift back to the gas station. The sun is setting. The temperature has dropped to a reasonable 95 degrees. His workout drink is still sitting on the hood of his car, now hot enough to brew tea. He gets in his car and sits in silence for 5 minutes. Then he drives to Phoenix PD headquarters. Captain Williams, Mitchell's direct supervisor, 28 years on the force, white, listens to Mitchell's account with an expression that shifts from disbelief to anger to something Mitchell has never seen in his captain's face before: shame. Williams. "They detained you? You told them you were a sergeant and they detained you?" Mitchell. "For 4 hours." Williams. "Did they verify your ID?" Mitchell. "Not until a supervisor realized they'd fucked up." Williams. "This is going to be a problem." Mitchell. "For who? For me? Or for ICE?" Williams. "For everyone. Darius, this is... Jesus. I don't even know what to call this." Mitchell. "I do. It's called racial profiling, and I'm filing a federal lawsuit." Jordan Reeves, civil rights attorney, 15 years specializing in Fourth Amendment violations, has never lost a case involving unlawful detention. So Reeves meets Mitchell at a coffee shop in Scottsdale. They sit outside. Mitchell tells the story again. Reeves takes notes, but Mitchell can tell he's not just recording facts. He's already building the case in his head. Reeves. "Body camera footage?" Mitchell. "ICE has it. I filed a FOIA request. They're dragging their feet." Reeves. "They'll produce it. Eventually. We'll subpoena if we have to." Mitchell. "What are we looking at? Timeline-wise?" Reeves. "Federal cases move slowly. 2 years? Maybe 3. They'll offer to settle." Mitchell. "I'm not settling." Reeves. "They'll offer $100,000, then $250,000, then maybe $500,000. The government hates going to trial on civil rights violations." Mitchell. I don't care about the money. I care about accountability. Reeves. Then we go to trial. But I need to know. Are you prepared for what this means? You're a cop suing federal agents. The Phoenix PD will pressure you to settle. ICE will drag your name through the mud. They'll find every arrest you've made, every complaint ever filed against you, every jaywalking ticket you didn't write. They'll try to make you the bad guy. Mitchell. Let them try. This is the moment where Mitchell stops being a cop who happens to be black and becomes a black man who happens to have been a cop. The system he served for 18 years is about to treat him like the enemy. And he's ready for it. U.S. District Court, Phoenix Division, Judge Patricia Huang presiding. The government offered $75,000. Mitchell rejected it. Then $300,000. Mitchell rejected it. Then $650,000. Mitchell rejected it. The trial lasts 6 days. Day 3. Yes, the prosecution plays the footage for the jury. The jury watches Agent Hartley approach Mitchell. They hear Mitchell identify himself clearly. They hear him offer proof. They hear Hartley refuse. They watch Mitchell get handcuffed while his daughters record and cry. The footage is devastating. One juror, a middle-aged black woman in the front row, wipes her eyes. Day 4. Jordan Reeves calls Agent Hartley to the stand. Reeves. Agent Hartley, what specific articulable facts led you to believe Sergeant Mitchell was unlawfully present in the United States? Hartley. The area has high rates of undocumented immigration. Reeves. The area, not the individual. What about Sergeant Mitchell specifically made you suspect him? Hartley. He matched a demographic profile consistent with individuals we target in that area. Reeves. What demographic profile? Hartley. Hispanic males, typically between 25 and 50. Reeves. Sergeant Mitchell is black. Hartley. Could be mixed ethnicity. Reeves. Did you ask him his ethnicity? Hartley. No. Reeves. Did you run his license plate? Hartley. No. Reeves. Did you have any intelligence linking him to an ongoing investigation? Hartley. No. Reeves. Did you have a warrant? Hartley. We don't need warrants for immigration enforcement. Reeves. You need reasonable suspicion for an investigative stop. Did you have that? Hartley. I had discretion to inquire. Reeves. Not what I asked. But did you have reasonable suspicion that Sergeant Mitchell had committed, was committing, or was about to commit a crime? Hartley. Long pause. Not a crime, no. But immigration violations are civil matters. Reeves. Which require reasonable suspicion under Arizona versus United States. Did you have reasonable suspicion? Hartley. No, but I had discretion. Reeves. Thank you. No further questions. Day 6. The jury deliberates for 93 minutes. Verdict: liable on all counts. Damages: compensatory $5.2 million for emotional distress, loss of dignity, violation of constitutional rights. Punitive: $3.5 million to deter future misconduct. Total: $8.7 million. Mitchell doesn't smile, doesn't celebrate. He sits in the courtroom and feels empty. His attorney shakes his hand. His wife hugs him. His daughters are in the gallery, watching. But Mitchell feels nothing except the memory of sitting in that cell, 4 hours, alone, wondering if anyone was coming for him. The jury awarded Mitchell $8.7 million. Agent Hartley was suspended for 2 weeks without pay. He's still employed by ICE, still conducting stops, still using discretion to decide who looks like they belong and who doesn't. The settlement came from taxpayers. Hartley paid nothing. Ask yourself, is that accountability? 6 months later. Mitchell retires from Phoenix PD. He's 43 years old. He could have had another 17 years on the force. He could have made lieutenant, maybe captain. But he can't do it anymore. In his retirement speech, attended by 200 officers, community members, and family, Mitchell says, I spent 18 years serving this community. I thought that meant something. I thought the badge made me part of a brotherhood. And it did, as long as I was wearing it. But the moment I was in civilian clothes, I became just another black man in America. And that means I became a suspect. I can't wear a badge that didn't protect me when I needed it. I can't enforce laws that don't apply equally to everyone. I can't train the next generation of officers to treat people with dignity when I know that dignity evaporates the second you're seen as the other. So I'm using the settlement money to do something different. I'm establishing the Mitchell Civilian Oversight Initiative. It's going to train community members to document civil rights violations, provide legal defense for people detained without cause, and lobby for legislation that ends qualified immunity and holds federal agents accountable. Because if this can happen to me, a decorated sergeant with 18 years of service, imagine what happens to people who don't have my resources, my knowledge, my platform. This isn't the end of my service. It's the beginning of service that actually matters. The Mitchell Civilian Oversight Initiative has trained 2,400 community members in legal documentation, funded legal defense for 47 individuals detained by ICE without proper cause, successfully sued for release of body camera footage in 12 additional cases, lobbied for Arizona state legislation requiring federal agents to articulate reasonable suspicion before immigration enforcement stops. The bill is pending. Mitchell occasionally does speaking engagements. He tells his story at universities, at community centers, at law enforcement conferences. And he always ends the same way. I'm not angry at Agent Hartley. I'm angry at a system that told him my skin color was reasonable suspicion. That told him discretion meant he could detain me for 4 hours without cause. That told him he'd face no real consequences for violating my rights. $8.7 million didn't heal what happened to me. It didn't erase the fear my daughters felt watching me get handcuffed. It didn't give me back my faith in the system I served. But it did give me the resources to fight that system. And I'm going to keep fighting until no one else has to sit in a cell for 4 hours wondering if anyone's coming for them. If you believe that being a police officer shouldn't protect you from racial profiling, but should make you more committed to ending it, share this story. If you believe that settlements should come from the officers who violate rights, not from taxpayers, comment below. And if you've ever been profiled, detained, or made to feel like you don't belong somewhere you had every right to be, drop your story in the comments. We see you. Your experience matters. And it's time the system that failed you is held accountable.